Well, dear learners, I welcome you all in this session on subsidiary books. You might have studied about single column cash book, double column cash book, three column cash book so far. So, in continuation with that, now we will study the remaining subsidiary books. So, today let me start with purchase journal. Well, dear learners, you might be well aware that in a business the transactions are of different types. The transactions may be related to the cash, the transactions may be on credit basis also. Therefore, the transactions which are related with cash, so such transactions are recorded in the cash book. But as far as the transactions which are not related to the cash, say for example, if we buy the goods on cash basis, then it will be recorded in the cash book. But when we buy the goods on credit basis, then such transaction will not at all be recorded in the cash book. Rather, such transactions will be recorded in the purchases journal. So, well, friends, when the goods or raw material can be purchased either on cash basis or on credit basis, when they are purchased on cash basis, the entry is made in the cash book. But when they are purchased on credit, they are recorded in the purchases journal. So, let us see the format of purchases journal. Well, friends, this is the format of purchases journal, that we have three columns on the left hand side and three columns on the right hand side. So, you see that on left hand side we have date column. So, here date of the transaction is recorded, and then the second one is particulars. So, here in this column the description about the transaction is recorded. Then inward invoice number. So, in third column inward invoice number. So, it means when we are buying the goods on credit basis, so the invoice number of inward is written here. Then this fourth one is ledger folio. So, well friends, this ledger folio, here the page number of ledger folio is recorded. Then the amount. So, here detail is written, and here in the sixth column the remarks are written. So, if any remarks are there pertaining to that business transaction, then the remarks are entered here. Purchases returns journal. Well friends, when we buy the goods, then sometimes what happens that when the goods is not as per our requirement, when the goods is not as per our specification, then we return the goods to the supplier, partly or fully. So, this may become necessary when the good is found to be defective, damaged, in transit, inferior quality, short weight, received too late, or not in conformity with the order given. So, if the number of such returns is small, they can be recorded in the journal itself, but if it is large in volume, then a separate book called purchases returns journal is maintained. Well friends, when we returns the goods because of many regions, as we have discussed. The regions may be, the goods may be defective, and the goods may be of inferior quality, the goods may be of short weight, the goods may be received very late. So because of these reasons, when we return the goods to the supplier, then this transaction is recorded in a book which is called Purchases Returns Journals. Well friends, as I have mentioned that in case if such transactions are very less in number, then this transaction is recorded in the journal itself. But when the number of transactions are large, then of course it is very difficult to record the all transactions in the journal. So for that very purpose, we maintain purchases returns journal, and the transactions which pertains to the returns are recorded in the purchases return journals and also called as purchase returns book. Then the next one is debit note. Well friends, now we will try to understand what actually the debit note is all about. Who write the debit note and why the debit note is written, and to whom the debit note is sent. So here we will try to understand the concept of debit note. So when you return the goods to the supplier, a statement called debit note is sent to the supplier. So it means the buyer write and debit note, and the buyer send the debit note to the supplier, and the debit note is sent by the buyer to the supplier when he returns the good. It informs the supplier that his account has been debited to the extent of the value of goods returned. You know that when goods are purchased, the supplier's account is credited. Debiting his account now means that the account payable to him has been reduced by the value of goods returned. The debit note also contains other particulars such as the name and the address of the supplier, the description of the goods returned, etc. So, well friends, this is all about the debit note, that debit note is written by the buyer and it is sent by the buyer to the supplier, and this debit note is sent by the buyer to the supplier on account of returns of goods, because when we returns the goods to the supplier, so we usually write a debit note and send it to the supplier mentioning that the debit note is sent to you because the goods which you had sent is not of good quality. Therefore, the debit note is sent to you equal to the value of goods returned. Then this is the format of debit note. So, well friends, you might be seeing here the debit note. Here debit note number is written. Here your invoice number is written, because when we buy the goods from the supplier, then the supplier gives us an invoice number. So that invoice number is written here. And here Messrs. Anand and Sons, Salt Lake, Kolkata. So this is the address of the supplier, and who is writing the notes? Roy and Company, Canal East Road, Kolkata. So it means that Roy and Company Roy and Company purchased the goods from the Anand and Sons, Kolkata. So when the Roy and Company is returning the goods, so it means Roy and Company is writing a debit note to the Anand and Sons. And here the description is written: returns of 15 kg sugar received damaged in transit at the rate rupees 35 per kg, and this is the value of the goods returned. So here the value of the debit note is equal to the value of goods returned, and here for Roy and Company, here the signatures will be there and here the date will be there. So this is the format of debit note which is returned by the buyer, and it is sent to the supplier in order to reduce the value of goods sold. Then purchases returns journal, format of purchases returns journal. So this is the format of purchases returns journal. Here the date is there, this is the date column, here the particulars. So here the description of the business transaction is recorded, here the debit note number is written, and here ledger folio number will be written, and here this is the total of amount will be returned, and here the remarks are returned. Next one is sales journal. So well friends, as we have discussed about the purchases journal, so when we make the sales of goods, so goods may be sold either on cash basis or on credit basis. When the goods is sold on cash basis, so this transaction is recorded in the cash book. But dear learners, when the goods is sold on credit basis, so such transaction is recorded in the sales journal. Sales book, it is also known as sales book. So again, it is very clear that when such transactions are very large in number, so the sales book is maintained. But when the number of transactions are very less, in that case these transactions may be recorded in the journal itself, sales return journal. So when we make the sales of goods to the customer, so the customers can also return the goods to us, and the reasons for returning the goods may be the same, that the goods that we have supplied may be of inferior quality, may be of short weight, may be sent to the customer too late. So there may be many reasons. So when the customer returns the goods to us, so such transactions are recorded in the sales returns journal. So when the number of transactions are very less in number, in that case these transactions may be recorded in the journal itself. But when the number of transactions are very large in number, so in that case the sales return book is maintained in order to write all these transactions. So the sales return journal is also known as sales return book. Format of sales return journal. So the format of sales return journal is given. The date column is there, particulars. So in this column the detail of the business transaction is written, then LF, that is ledger folio, then the credit note number, and then the amount. So this is the format of the sales return journal. Credit note. So when a customer returns the goods, a statement called credit note is sent to him. the credit note informs the customer that his account has been credited to the extent of the value of goods returned. Well, friends, you know that when goods are sold, the customer account was debited. Now, crediting his account means that the amount payable by him stands reduced by the value of goods returned. So, you know, the credit note is also returned by the selling firm, and the credit note is sent by the selling firm to the customer. So, this credit note informs the customer that his account has been credited to the extent of value of goods returned. So, this is all about the credit note. So, this is the format of credit note. So, credit note number is written here, and here your debit note number. Here Messrs. Anand and Sons is writing the credit note to Roy and Company, and here returns of 15 kg sugar received damaged in transit at the rate rupees 35 per kg 525. So, here Anand and Sons, and here the date is returned. Journal proper. So, well friends, by now you know that a journal is and what its subdivisions are. You also know that the special journal discussed earlier take care of certain types of transactions which are repetitive and numerous. However, there are number of transactions which do not occur frequently and hence do not warrant preparation of special journals, but they have to be recorded somewhere. So, for them the proper place is the original journal itself, which is now called journal proper. So, any transactions which was not recorded in the subsidiary books, so transactions which do not find any place in the subsidiary books will now be recorded in the journal proper. So, let us see what journal proper is all about. Journal proper is a part of subsidiary books. Each and every entry has its place in subsidiary books, but those entries which are not related to any of the above mentioned and above discussed books will go to the journal proper. So, there are 8 subsidiary books which we have studied so far. First one is sales book, second one is sales return book, then purchase book, purchase return book, bills receivable book, bills payable book, cash book, and journal proper. So, the example of these transactions are withdraw goods for personal use. So, when the proprietor or when the business enterprises has withdrawn the goods for personal use. So, this states that the goods have been withdrawn but for personal use. So, it will not make part of purchase book or any of the other book. So, it will go to journal proper book. So, for this the journal entry would be drawing account debit to purchases. Drawings account debit to purchases. Transactions to be recorded in journal propers are, say for example, opening entries. So, the transactions which were remained with the business at the end of the closing year. So, in the next year those transactions would be the opening transaction for this particular year. So, for them the opening entry is passed. So, these entries are needed for opening accounts in the beginning of the financial year. So, all the assets accounts are debited and all liabilities accounts are credited, and the difference is credited to the capital account. Then the next one is transfer entries. So these entries are needed to record transfer from one account to another. For example, an asset purchased is wrongly debited to the purchase account. So here the right journal entry would be asset account debit to purchases account, because when we passed the entry, so the asset was debited to the purchase account wrongly. So now in order to rectify it, we will have to debit the asset account and credit the purchases account. Then the next one is rectification entries. So when certain errors are committed in the books, these entries are passed in order to nullify the effects of such errors. For example, goods sold for rupees 5,000 to Mr. Ram has been entered in the sales day book as rupees 500. So this transactions was recorded, though the transaction was value of rupees 5,000, but wrongly it was entered in the sales book against rupees 500. Then the next one is adjustment entries. So when accounts are closed at the end of a financial year, before preparing the financial statements or final accounts, certain adjustments have to be made relating to certain items like depreciation, outstanding expenses, interest on capital, etc. So for example, if rent is outstanding for 1 month, say rupees 500. So for that, we will make the journal entry rent account debit to rent outstanding. Then the next one is closing entries. So these entries are needed at the end of accounting period to close the certain accounts. Transferring their balance to some other accounts does this. For example, transferring its balance to profit and loss account closes the petty cash book. Then the next one is compound entries. Sometimes what happens that compound entries are passed through journal proper to make the record of the transactions more clear. For example, goods sold for cash after allowing trade and cash discount can be recorded in this journal. So, well, dear learners, you might be well aware that the trade discount is never recorded in the books of the accounts, but as far as cash discount is always recorded in the books of account. So this was all about the transactions which are recorded in the journal proper. Then the last one is casual entries. So journal proper may also used to record such transactions which do not occur so frequently, so that a separate book may not be provided for them. For example, if sales returns are rare, then instead of opening a sales returns book, such rare cases can be recorded in journal proper. So this was all about the transactions which are generally recorded in the journal proper, because these transactions do not find a proper place in the subsidiary books which have been discussed. And as I have mentioned that there are 8 subsidiary books like purchase book, purchase returns book, sales book, sales returns book, and then bills payable book, bills receivable books, and then journal proper. So these are the books which we generally call subsidiary books. Cash book is also there. So when any transactions do not find a proper place in these 8 subsidiary books, then such transactions are recorded in the journal proper. So this was all about the today's lecture on subsidiary books. I hope that the learners might have enjoyed this session. So with this, I extend my thanks for listening the lecture and enjoying the lectures. Thank you very much.